Have you ever been told or made to feel like you are too much? Or like you triggered somebody? You triggered an intense emotional reaction in somebody else by just your mere presence or something you did or said? Well, when we talked last week, we were talking about others triggering us. And this week, we are diving into the other side. So we are going to talk about some truths and ways we can honor ourselves and get good perspective and shift our thinking. And we're going to do that today in this episode. And if you are somebody who struggles with being stuck or frustrated or bored, or you feel like you just can't make change in your life and you really just desire to have more joy and happiness and abundance and pleasure in your life, and you want to do it without sacrificing your family, your commitment to your family and your friends, then you are in the right place. I'm Erica, the host of Powered by Joy podcast, and we are going on a journey together, and we're just seeking more ways to bring that more joy and that change and getting empowered to make change in our lives. And so this week, as I said, we're talking about what happens when we, just being ourselves, trigger others, okay? So it can be a very uncomfortable moment, and it can be an opportunity for reflection as well. But last week we talked about some tools that we can use, and this week they're similar, but we actually have an extra really important step that I want you to take away, and it is something that I call your anchor. And so we'll get to that. So stay tuned. Okay, an example this might be where I'll say this is kind of a personal one that's happened to me more than once in different ways. But I love to talk about spirituality and all things woo-woo. And there was somebody that I was sharing about some new modalities of healing that were coming around, and I just was really excited about it. And then I was met with a crossed arms posture and well, you don't want to waste your time and money on that. And I was like, kind of set me back. And I definitely felt like this was something that made her very uncomfortable. And I was like, oh, whoops, okay. I didn't pay attention to who my audience was in this circumstances. But I, being really passionate and just openly sharing about those beliefs, made her uncomfortable. And so it invoked a reaction that felt critical to me. That doesn't mean that's her truth, but that's how it felt to me. And this goes into next week's episode, but it ties to my beliefs and how I feel. So I'm going to tell you the story of blue hair. And that is, this gal was sharing that if somebody comes up to you and says, you have blue hair, and you're like, no, I don't, because let's say I have brown, then there's no emotion. I don't identify with it. I don't believe that. There's nothing triggering me here because that's not my truth. And so it doesn't resonate with me. Where if I had someone tell me that I have blue hair and I believed that about myself, then I'd be like, oh yeah, I do have blue hair. Then I'm identifying with that, and I receive being told that I have blue hair, and I receive that statement, right? So that plays into just even that example I gave of sharing my woo-woo thoughts, and that, if I identified with like that woo woo is stupid or something, then when she said that, I might have been triggered, right? And so in that situation, I believe that I triggered her, but it didn't set off emotions in me because I was like, oh, that's okay. I didn't pay attention to who my audience was. So it didn't set off a whole series of emotions for me. So let's use that example, and we're going to dive into our tools right here. This is our cue to use our tools that we learned in last week's episode, plus more steps this week. Well, one more. Okay, so it's 4 this week instead of 3. Okay, and so my cue is number 1, I'm going to observe. I noticed, okay, we had an interaction. How's that making me feel? Did I just see that I triggered somebody else? Okay. So I've just observed that this interaction has happened, okay? Now, number 2, is curiosity. We're asking questions. So now I'm getting curious and I'm asking myself, okay, is what she said feel true to me? Or maybe it doesn't. That's not how I really feel. Okay, was I possibly coming off too strong, or did I not pay attention? And maybe this is something that the person doesn't feel comfortable talking about. So just being aware of other people. So this moment of curiosity isn't judgment. It's, can you get high level and look at the situation, not just from your own perspective, but from whoever you're interacting with, and have a curiosity, not judgment, and go, oh, okay, like what was my role in this? And do I identify with this belief that this person is projecting onto me by what they said to me? And let's, if you're like, okay, no, that's not my truth, and that's okay. Maybe next time I just won't bring up that topic. That's clearly something they don't like to talk about. So that's just observing and going, oh, they have a boundary there, and I'm just going to make sure I pay attention to who my audience is next time. Okay. So getting curious is also like being willing to go, okay, let's say it was a different example where maybe I had my own intense emotions going on, and so I was being really expressive in maybe a negative way and just kind of venting, but it wasn't even directed at them, but they were just present. And so that spilled over onto them energetically. Maybe I'm now in my curiosity phase, step 2, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I'm tired, and maybe I did react a little bit more intensely than I should have. So now I've got a moment of awareness, like, okay, I've got to pay attention to that, right? So that curiosity isn't about judgment. It's about like high level, looking like an eagle. We're not a pigeon hanging out trying to get a bite. We're up here at eagle level and we're looking down going, okay, where's my truth in here? What do I believe? What's going on here? Was there an adjustment needed? Was there something I wasn't paying attention to or aware of? Or was I just genuinely being myself and happy, and there's clearly something going on with the other person? Maybe that other person's really hurting and just not capable of being present with you in a compassionate, friendly way. They might be going through a divorce and they just can't listen to you talk about dating someone and being in love right now. That's just not in their wheelhouse. So they might snap at you. So you've now triggered them because they are wishing they were in that phase and not going through divorce, right? So just that curiosity, awareness can help us know how to respond, because then step 3 is the shift, right? We've now gone, okay, curious, okay, maybe they're hurting, going through divorce. I'm going to just tone it back. Again, this might be the wrong audience. I'm going to just tone back. And you know what? We're entitled to our joy when we're in that place of happiness. But we can also be sensitive and compassionate when somebody else is really hurting. So it's okay to share our joy, but maybe we don't stuff it down someone's throat and talk about it for an hour and a half every time you talk to them or something like that. So with the shift, we're getting that high level. We've got our new perspective because we've gotten curious. And how can we shift our perception? And if it's that we're like, we just go within and go, oh, yep, I'm good. You can just let it sit at that. That's that let them principle. If there's a point where you're like, yeah, maybe I came in a little too hot, or I was kind of being insensitive, or I picked the wrong audience, this is your opportunity in step 3 to shift and maybe make a little adjustment in your behavior, your conversation, or next time you approach something a little different, or maybe you make sure you're rested so that you're not really tired and irritable. So that shift opportunity is the 3rd step. And so it's getting to that more neutral space in that shift so that we're not feeling offended by them being offended by us. If we don't identify, I don't have blue hair, so I'm not offended by you thinking I have blue hair, homie. Okay, so step 4 is not a bonus on this episode. Step 4 is required, and that is an anchor statement. I like to call it the anchor. And it's a statement that you would write down. So this could be a journal prompt if you're working through something like this. And you can do it in your car, wherever you are. You can do it inside your mind, but get to your anchor. And your anchor is this thought. The truth is. The truth is. Now we've got a line where you fill it in. You're going to fill in that spot. So an example for me with my woo-woo talk would be, the truth is, I am really passionate about talking about spirituality. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a great neutral thought. Okay, example 2 would be, the truth is, even though I'm tired today, I'm worthy of expressing my emotions. Caveat to that, we might want to express it a little differently, maybe. But that's a truth statement. The truth is, even though I'm tired, I am still worthy of expressing my emotions. Okay, so those are 2 examples. So finding a truth, an anchor that you can drop into, an anchored thought where you just feel that steady. So like you know that you triggered somebody, and it's like, ooh, now we've observed it. Now we got curious and we're like, oh, okay, I don't think that was really me. So the third is that shifting perspective, like, okay, I'm neutral. I've seen that, and maybe she's not the right audience. Fourth, the anchor statement, that truth that we're going to drop into so that we stay neutral and don't go into some sort of self-questioning critical space, is my truth, or the truth is, I am da 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 da. Okay. It helps us, when we think about being centered or grounded, if we're swaying over here and criticizing ourselves, or we're over here just being completely up in ourselves, like not aware, and over on the other end, like there's this, instead of swinging from side to side, I love to motion with my hands, but if you're just listening, I'm swinging my hands back and forth. It's that center place. And so that truth, that anchor, is helping you to just stay grounded in a thought that lets you not run off on a rabbit hole of criticizing yourself. So your bonus then in this situation would be, can you make a statement after that to yourself that's gratitude based? Can you be grateful? So I am so grateful that I have an open mind and I've learned so much about spirituality. Yep, there's a gratitude. That was easy. Here's your extra bonus. And this would be if somebody else is involved, which obviously would be if you're triggering somebody else, right? And that would be in the case of, like, maybe you've gotten to that eagle view, your overview, and you look and go, ooh, maybe I was a little insensitive, or maybe I came in a little hot in that situation. Whoops, I'm gonna kick in the camera. So maybe you did realize that you came in a little hot. Can you talk to that person, and can you softly express your truth, and can you consider an apology if you maybe need it? It's okay to say something like, I realize that I'm really tired today, and I'm working really hard on becoming more aware of when I'm tired and I'm getting snippy, and I'm really sorry that I just let that come out at you today. I'm working on it. I know that could feel really uncomfortable, and the key here is that you're owning up your emotions, and it's okay to express them, and you're also acknowledging and validating their feelings too in the situation. So it's a process, it's a practice, and it's extra credit bonus if you can do that. There's healing there, and so I love to encourage that last extra step if you feel like you could go there. That's when you're like getting up in the higher level stuff, right? The truth is, we're human, and we're having a human experience. And so we are going to, no matter how enlightened we feel we are or how much wisdom we've gained, we are going to probably step on toes and make mistakes and trigger others and ourselves. That's the next episode. And so we just have to learn to get into that curiosity and compassion, and getting into that high level and being willing to get curious and really real with ourselves. So when you're at that high level looking at the situation, can you come from a place that you're not defending yourself? Because that's not the place we want to come from at all. We're trying to look at both sides from a neutral standpoint. So it's really that getting real, getting curious, and remembering that there are going to be times where even when we are in our joy and our happiness, and as you become more healed, and you start to experience more joy and abundance and blessings in your life, and owning them and showing them and sharing them, you are going to be amazed that there will be people in your life that this brings them discomfort because they see that happening in your life and they feel maybe like they're losing you, or they see what you have and they do not have and wish for their lives, and there's that tension there for them that triggers them to have intense emotions. It also might be that we are even in our best intentions, we sometimes will still step over that line or boundary people have in place that we may never have in place for ourselves because we don't need it, but maybe they have a boundary that's really far out around them because they haven't had the chance to heal. And so in order for them to feel safe, they keep some pretty hard boundaries that you are completely unaware of, and so you accidentally step across that line, and their intention is not to hurt them. And if we can stand and take that inquiry, that curiosity step, and get to a different perspective and shift, it can help there be healing for both of you, right? And so just being aware that even when we're just, the more authentic we are and the more in the healing we are, the more we reflect that out, and it can either bring discomfort to people or they are attracted to it. And the good news is the more we stick to it in our authentic selves, and we're staying in that light and in that neutral place, and we're honoring our truth, we're checking in going, okay, what is my truth in this situation? And not altering who we are for others, but also being compassionate and thoughtful and considerate of others. A lot of mom talk here, really, but all of that plays together. And when we are in that place of light and joy, and we're plugged into that abundance and blessing and gratitude mindset, we reflect that out, and we are that light, and we want to be that role model. We want to be the guiding light to other people in our lives, to show them the way to more joy in our lives. And if we get caught up in being offended at everything that everyone's offended by us doing, then we're not getting anywhere. We've got a lot of triggering going on here these days. And so can we come to a place where we are happy for somebody that is genuinely in their happy place, experiencing abundance, experiencing healing, experiencing the full expression of their authentic self? Can we not judge, and can we accept them and just enjoy them and be happy that they have been able to get to that place? And I think that is part of our mission here, is coming to that place of love for each other. So I feel a little preachy about it, but I think that's a big piece of it. And so when we take these steps to own ourselves, because it's only us that can change and take responsibility for how we respond and react to others' reactions to us, we can shift the outcome, and we can be a place of healing and a source of healing and growth and light and joy. And so I encourage you to embrace these steps and be the one to lead the way, and take the time to reflect, observe, inquire within, and make some shifts within yourself, and show yourself some love and honor and respect, and owning your truth and finding that anchor. Find your anchor, your truth statement. And if you are somebody who feels like you're just really struggling with being in those spaces where you feel like you're too much, or people are feeling make you feel like you can't fully express yourself, I always say seek guidance, reach out to other people. You are not alone. There are lots of people out there that love and care about you, and there are resources for you as well. And so I always say to seek professional guidance if you are just really down in the depths and really struggling. And if you are somebody who wants some extra tips or helps or clarity around going, yeah, I really find like I trigger people, reach out to me. I will help you, and we can look and get perspective as well. And I would love it if you would be bold enough to share one of the things you feel triggers people about yourself. Are you that bold? It's okay if you're not, but if you are bold and brave, you could share something that you find sets people off that you're working on maybe. I will have to share some for myself if I'm asking that of you. I thank you for joining me, and I hope that this episode gives you some really tangible tools in those moments where somebody makes you feel like you're too much or that you've triggered them and it really stings a little bit. Like, you can go in and use these tools and go, oh, I'm going to handle this and I'm not going to get sucked in because I don't got blue hair. I'm not going to believe this. I'm not going to identify with it. I'm going to get my eagle view on. Okay, if you have questions or you want to reach out for clarity on this, my contacts are below in the description. I'd love it if you would subscribe if you haven't already, and I want you to share this if you think you know somebody that is going to need this or would be benefiting from these steps. Please share it with them and like my videos. It helps grow my community. I'm passionate about growing. And thank you for listening for another week. I will see you next week when we talk about triggering ourselves. What?